Today on Between the Lines, you'll get your 2 bits worth as idea meets design all in a simple quarter when we meet graphic designer Garrett Burke. Welcome, I'm Barry Kibrick. Garrett's work is immersed in our pop culture. His designs are seen in everything from Star Trek to Star Wars, and from James Bond to Harry Potter. And almost everyone in the country has held his artwork in their hand, for he is the designer of the California Quarter. Now with his book, Quarterama, we see how an idea becomes design and how our country's most valued ideals are expressed on the state quarters of our nation.
Between the Lines with Barry Kibrick is made possible in part by
the government of Puerto Rico's tourism company, dedicated to the island lifestyle, encouraging viewers to take a break and relax with a good book. Read, rejuvenate. Puerto Rico, the novel island.
I'm a writer today because I was a reader when I was 11 years old, and it was...
You do not need to prove your state of happiness to anybody.
Most of these speeches were as much as a month in preparation.
Characters, the heroes in this book, are seekers of truth in a story that involves a lot of corruption.
You don't get a chance to really talk about what's real, and it's the perfect for me.
Garrett, welcome to the show. It is wonderful to have you as a guest on Between the Lines. Oh, it's my pleasure. I'm going to approach our conversation 2 ways. One, classically, as the subheading of your book is Ideas and Design, and the other is the philosophy behind our own founding and the words of each quarter in the state. We won't get through all of them and all the provinces and all of that, but I want to approach it 2 ways. So the first thing I want to do is hit on the ideas and design element of it. And you give us, this is the definition as it's going to be explained throughout your book. Ideas express emotions, designs the challenge of solving problems to transform people's beliefs into realities.
Yes.
That is a major bridge to cross from the idea to the design. And in my opinion, if you even look at it outside of the realm of art and graphics, it's the biggest bridge we need to cross as a society between the great ideas we have and how we're going to implement them.
Yes. Well, an idea is usually not something you can put your hand on. Like love, an idea, I love you. I want to take it to the next step. What's the next step? The mechanism of marriage. But that's a design. There are laws entailed with that, business applications to that. There's a lot of paperwork involved. The design is very complicated. It's creating the framework that holds the idea within a little capsule, and it has to extend through time. So the ideas of America as expressed through the coins, liberty, e pluribus unum, in God we trust, that expresses how America was formed, the framework for how we as people accept America moving through 235 years from now, right now. Ideas are just very nebulous. Designs, to face the concrete of making them happen in actuality, very difficult, a completely different framework from doing an idea.
Well, even the concept of having, let's say the founding fathers concept, because there's some things on the coin that weren't even, like God we trust, that came on a little bit later, even though it's inalienable rights that made us happen, which implies God, because it's not people. So in a sense, but the word itself was not utilized. But e pluribus unum was definitely a founding father notion. Out of the 13 colonies, we will form one. Out of all those people, we will form one.
Yes.
So let's begin, though. I want to begin still with the first primal aspect, and that is liberty. Because it's all 3 of these words, in God we trust, liberty, and e pluribus unum, must be on every coin.
Yes,
because
by law.
We wanted to say it's not just an idea, it is by design.
Yes. Well, it's the framework. For instance, I always think of liberty as chosen expression of my personal labor. When I wake up in the morning, I am choosing to go out to work, support my family, pay my taxes, be a contributing member of society. That is the bedrock value of what America is. Liberty lets us achieve a bit of our higher selves over time. Now, if we're all out there being free unto ourselves and there's just free will without control, then that's not going to work. Liberty needs the framework of laws, elections, paying your taxes. So the liberty makes us part of a contributing member of society.
Well, you know, the more I've been learning, the more I find that framework, and the more narrow even sometimes the framework, the grander some things can be. We sometimes think of ideas and creativity as needing a blank slate that stretches a mile long, but oftentimes it is the requirements to maintain that liberty, the requirements to fit within the frame that bring out the greatness of the ideas and designs.
Well, with the state quarters, that was one of the ideas that really appealed to me over time, is if you look at all of 50 state quarters, it creates a panorama of the ideas of America, but they're put forth on 50 little pieces of pocket change. So each of the coins as it came out from the United States Mint represented an idea of the state, some of the special history they had, some of the people, the places, the events that made that state special amongst the other 49. But the ideas of each of the states are unique to one of the 49, but they create a panorama of the whole. And the designs of the coins are very much specific to how is it going to work as a piece of functioning currency, how is the idea going to be selected by committees. There were 7 committees through the United States Mint, Secretary of the Treasury, the governors, Commission on Fine Arts. So the idea is, for instance, with, let's say it's Connecticut, with the Charter Oak. The idea of the coin showing a Connecticut Charter Oak, that's where the colonists hid the charter from the British troops who wanted to retrieve it so that Connecticut could no longer be a colony. Well, we have the idea of that. Safeguard your liberties, safeguard what your society is becoming. How do we put that in a functioning design? And the design of the Charter Oak, which fills beautifully the frame of the coin, the sculptors at the United States Mint, through the design they have to consider sculpture, design, the flow of the metal when the coin is struck, how it's going to be stacked together when it's in a stack of rolls of $20 in coins. So the ideas of America are very specific, or the ideas of the state quarters are very specific to each of the regions, but the designs have to work across all of the 50 states.
E pluribus unum, out of many, one.
Correct.
Let's talk about your one. California, you designed that state's quarter. I actually like to say your wife made you do it, but in a sense, the support that you had from your wife was what literally made you do it. It didn't even enter your mind. And in your case, it was John Muir, and it was the environment that you had an idea to express and then created the graphic design.
Yes. Well, it was in 2002. My wife and I were at a coin show. She handed me the little brochure, and Governor Davis at the time was looking for ideas, and that was one of the strengths of the United States Mint 50-state quarter program. They asked citizens to submit ideas that, if selected, would work their way through the system and become the design of the coin. But I looked at the form and I said, are you kidding me? In the state of California, do you know how many talented people there are? I don't have any ideas, I don't have the time, and they'd never pick mine anyway. And it was my wife, Michelle, and my daughter, Katie, who encouraged me, because I was working in the entertainment industry at the time, said, no, you need to do this. Think of California as a universe. And the idea of California, which can mean many things to many people, that's something that you need to put forth and squeeze into designs. So we submitted ideas the day before the deadline, 15 different design concepts, and one of them which honored John Muir in Yosemite Valley, the idea of Californians loving their state, the beauty, the natural beauty of our state. That was the idea that was expressed through the design of John Muir looking out at the vista of Yosemite Valley.
You know, you said something here about the people. Part of this, as I said, is, and you say here, each one of these quarters are little compact history lessons. And one of the lessons of history is we the people. We're supposedly a government for the people, by the people, of the people. This fact of the quarters being designed by people making the submission, we seem to almost are losing some of that in our sense of government. We seem to find, even the way we describe it, it's the government. Well, it's not in our country, the government. In our country, when we really say the government, we are talking about ourselves. That's the way we're supposed to look at it. Yes. What Washington, in fact, it's kind of funny, he's on the cover of the Quarter, he's on the front face. He didn't want his image on anything because he thought the ideas of liberty and the ideas of e pluribus unum and the ideas of what America stood for was more important than any individual. So we have this interesting juxtaposition of what was the reluctant politician and a government of and for and by the people to now where we have almost what seems like professional politicians, and we're no longer a part of it. And I think that's a gap that you're aware of, and in here, encourage us to revisit and almost implore us to rethink that so we can become more associated and more unified, more attached to our brethren across the states, all 50 of them.
Yes. Well, in designing the book, the structure of the book is turning the pages, and every page is a different experience. But we did not want, my wife, daughter, and I, and we had help also from the outside with some very talented friends from the entertainment industry. We did not want the book to just be the structure of, okay, there's a buffalo on the coin, okay, it's a buffalo, and talk about buffaloes. That was not important to us. The idea of the buffalo is that the buffalo were hunted to extinction, and the resource was wasted. So the idea of not wasting your resources, that was the idea of the coin, to not overextend yourself by hunting the buffalo to extinction, to not go into debt right now by buying things that were improper for your life. That to us was the lesson of the coin. Or with Vermont, the idea when we had it's the tree, the sugar maple trees. And the idea is not that Vermont makes beautiful, wonderful, tasty maple syrup. The idea is that you can surrender to the beautiful, tasty bits of your day. And that's why we have the image of a beautiful smiley face made out of pouring syrup. The idea that you have to look at America and realize that we are a land of abundance, we are a land of different geography, different beliefs, different people, but that we can all come together from all our ethnicities, all our religions, and we can enjoy some of the same things because we are human. And that goes across time also. It was important to us that the book was not a history book that dealt with the past. It was a history book that was also dealing with the present, the contemporary issues that even our founding fathers were dealing with, we're dealing with all over again. We wanted to make sure that the ideas came alive as being, through the designs of the coin, were relevant to your life in this year, not just relevant going back centuries.
Well, we see that in all of the coins. The first one that caught me was because of the power of the statement was New Hampshire. There's nothing, in my opinion, that could be more powerful than to say, you know, live free or die.
Yes.
And, you know, that, to see that on our coinage is a statement beyond statements, because live free or die, that tells you where they put liberty in the scheme of things.
Yes. And for the spread of live free or die with it shows the old man on the mountain for New Hampshire. Well, when we were expressing the spread, the art, and the book is set up so that the left side expresses the idea and the right side expresses the who, what, where, and when of the coin. So it's right side who, where, what, where, and when, left side the why. Why should I care? And when New Hampshire, we were trying to figure out what the concept, what's the idea behind New Hampshire? Well, in 2003, the rock formation, Old Man of the Mountain, it fell down. And it was centuries of wearing. It just finally tore loose from its iron turnbuckles. So the idea of the coin is that this is a true memorial coin, that you have to endure the remembrance of what was. And it is no longer there, but people still speak of it very lovingly, the Old Man of the Mountain, even though it is not physically there.
Well, you said this is not just the history of things, but of where they are now, and you pose this challenge, I'll say. Where's our civilization headed? It's a question that you write. Will its overall quality of life be created or controlled? Yes. Nothing harkens back to live free or die than that question. Yes. Because are we going to be led or are we going to be in control?
Yes. Well, in designing the graphics for the book and using the coins as a launching point, even the idea for West Virginia where it was a bridge. Well, what's the idea of a bridge? The bridge takes you from point A to point B, but also it's point B comes to point A. And that when you have two ends that are coming together, sometimes there are good aspects and other times there are not so good aspects of it. So by using the internet @ symbol with the halo and devil's tail and horn, that expresses the idea of what a bridge is. That sometimes you have unwanted visitors coming over the bridge, and that's the idea.
Let's take then another coin that I think strikes an interesting twist, because again we don't use this term very often. It's Pennsylvania's virtue. Yes. Because, and I feel that this is where we harken back to that liberty, and then the joining is, if one is not a virtue, if we are not good people, if we are not following that golden rule, almost none of this can work in symbiotic relationships like this, because we're going to be either too much of liberty, too much controlled by not liberty. So virtue is an interesting thing that Pennsylvania wants to bring to the forefront. And again, that's why you say when we look at these different coins, when we add them all together, we really get the picture of our nation's ideology and our nation's way of life.
Yes. Well, my wife, daughter, and I, we do quite a bit of traveling and do public speaking, schools, libraries, Rotary clubs, and we have met so many thousands and thousands of people who tell us what the state quarters mean to their lives, and the book is an outgrowth of that. 148 million people collect the coins, but because the coins last for 30 years, they're around for generations and generations. And I said earlier, history is never past. We are living history right now. You can never really grab a lock on history. The lessons we're learning now in this year are very similar to 100 to 200 years ago. So the coins are little time machines. They're compact lessons that will carry forth long after we have all been here.
Well, Georgia gives us one that I think is something we really need to take into consideration this year and next. Wisdom, justice, moderation.
Yes.
Again, I sort of love things that come in threes like that. That's sort of a pattern of life almost like that. But a lot of the coins have those three beats that go that way. And Georgia's aware. Wisdom, moderation, justice. Three qualities that, again, if you took away, like in Pennsylvania, if you took away any of these things that are on these coins, we would not be what we would be.
Well, it's interesting, the motto that you had said, that refers to the three branches of the state government, the executive, the legislative, and the judicial. So that's what each of the words refers specifically to one part of the government, so that a higher ideal is upheld as a state. And the same with Pennsylvania, they had the same type of thinking in their legends and mottos.
But you know what it is, and I think it's symbolized by two in particular. North Carolina I put here, and Florida, because in those two you have the first flight, the Kitty Hawk, and these words by you: science empowers the pursuit of knowledge, followed by Florida, expeditions into the unknown. And I was talking with my wife and son yesterday, and I said, you know, even in our Constitution, right at the very beginning, we have words that protect our artists and our scientists, because they wanted to make sure that they could patent their ideas, because our founding fathers knew how valuable our ideas in science, in art. You have coins from Tennessee and Louisiana that shows music.
Yes, stories
and all of them are, our ideas, and the value of our ideas and the protecting of them was something worthy enough that our founding fathers put in the Constitution. And I don't believe there's another constitution on the planet that protects ideas like ours does, especially those in the arts, in the sciences, which benefit all of humankind.
Well, it goes back to liberty. It's chosen personal labor, where you take an idea and you make it into a reality. And you're right, that's the framework that the coins all express.
Well, one of them harkens back, and now I don't know if you planned it this way, but the Wyoming quarter, the Bronc. Now, on the right side of, I'm trying to think, on the right side of the book, you see the quarter and the Bronc, or the rider, the cowboy on it. And on the left, though, there's an interesting rope designed by you with a knot at the end of it. And I couldn't help but at that moment, it reflected to me something, and I remembered, now hearkening back, what Franklin Roosevelt said during the Great Depression. He told the citizens, when, hold on to that rope, and when you run out of the ability to hold on to that rope, tie a knot and hold on even longer. And that's when I saw that knot at the end of that rope.
That's it.
At the end of that rope, you sense that's sometimes what we just need to do. Hold on.
That's right. Well, you're very perceptive to pick that up, because we were able to look back and what did Benjamin Franklin say? What did Franklin Delano Roosevelt say? What did Helen Keller think about expressing her ideas about the challenges of her life? John Muir also with the California. We had such a wide range of thoughts and ideas to pull from that it was the most incredible opportunity to put it all together in one book. But with tying, hold on, tie a knot at the end of your rope and just hold on. That was the perfect idea to express with the Wyoming coin when it's a bucking bronco, because we go on the internet today and we're never quite sure what's going to pop up, what news is going to pop up, the sensationalism of it. You just have to hold on sometimes. And that was the perfect idea for that coin.
You said the internet, Garrett, when we spoke earlier. I want to give out your website, because not only will you respond to people, but on the website, they can get the book if they want to, but more importantly, there's so much detailed information that goes, sort of addendums to the book. So I'm just going to give it out, and it's easy enough. It's the name of the book, www.quarterama.com, QUARTERAMA.com. The first opening of our declaration and of the book, we the people, you say it is as much a place of mind as geography. And our founding fathers believed that as well, that it was a state of being more so than it was a land divided by territory.
Yes. Well, Barry, I had the benefit of having grown up in Philadelphia. So for me, history was right outside of my front door. And I would ride my bike along the Schuylkill River down to Philadelphia, go visit Independence Hall and the mall, and I would see and read and just absorb, particularly in my teenage years, what they were trying to get through, that we are all in this together, and that we have to have some sense of togetherness, the e pluribus unum, and beyond us being Americans, we're just people, and we're all getting along together from all different countries, and our melting pot is going to make us stronger, not weaker, ever.
And in your words, again, this is not on the coin, but it is. But I have to give the coin credit, because that's where it springs from. This is Oklahoma's page. Yes. Exercise your genius, and these words are on it: zig when all else zag. Be it evolution or design, all species, you were talking about us humans, but all species possess an ability to nurture their worthy talent. That is paramount to your message.
Yes. Well, it's the story of my life. I've always felt that I exist through my consciousness, and how I see the world is different from how everybody else sees the world. And as long as I'm not doing harm to others, and I set a goal to put forth the daily labors of my day for the liberty of my ideas, I can benefit society. And the evolution of each of our lives is what makes us a strong America, because we have so many different conflicting points of view, but we all basically just want to get up in the morning, do good, hug our daughters and sons at the end of the day, and move on to the next day. And that's the evolution. It happens very, very slowly. When we try and make too many quick jumps, or when the quick jumps are fostered upon us, that's when there's chaos. So the process of the evolution, represented by the scissor-tail flycatcher. It's this beautiful, speedy bird that's on the Oklahoma State Quarter. And it has these wonderful scissor tails when it flies up, very acrobatic. They don't quite understand how it can do what it does. But that took perhaps millions of years to evolve to the point where that's its special talent. And we all have a special talent.
Well, Garrett, I thank you for sharing your special talent with us today. I'll end with these words: America, an idea. Your part in determining its future is by design. Thank you, sir, for sharing your ideas and your designs with us today. It's my pleasure, and thank you guys for joining us. Now, before Garrett leaves, I'd like to leave you with these words from Quarterama. It's by Ben Franklin. This will be the best security for maintaining our liberties, a nation of well-informed men. It is in the regions of ignorance that tyranny begins. I'm Barry Kibrick. The only thing between liberty and tyranny are well-informed men and women. Thank you, Garrett.
Thank you, Barry.
My pleasure.
If you'd like to get in touch with us, want a DVD or transcript of our show, catch an episode online, or receive our weekly updates, go to www.klcs.org/BTL.